You always need a human eye on everything. So you need, don't trust the AI answer, the what it spits out as the thing to use. You still need to show you. You still need to show your personality, your style, your language, in your writing. I've also heard horror stories of recruiters and managers throwing all their resumes they get into a public ChatGPT and saying, "Tell us who to interview." Yeah, that's just crazy. You're learning it not just to help you find a job, but you want to build these skills for your job. You see stories out there where companies are saying, "We're not hiring anybody until you prove that AI can't do it first."
Hi, everyone. It's Kailyn, your host with Kbex Global on Career Kickstart Conversations. Today, we have a special guest, Steve Thomas. He's an HR executive. And our topic today is really everything AI when it comes to finding a job. And that's from the beginning with your resume, finding a job, career, company that's for you, communication with recruitment. So it's full cycle AI. So stay tuned and I'll let Steve introduce himself. Welcome, Steve.
Great. I'm glad to be here, Kailyn. Great to meet you and great to be a part of this podcast.
Thank you. So do you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself and then we'll dive into the questions?
Yeah, sure. So I am an HR professional. I've been in human resources my entire career, worked in a variety of industries, high tech, life sciences, consulting, manufacturing, a variety of industries. I've been in business partner roles. I've been in recruiting roles. Last year or so, I actually took an enterprise role working in digital HR. So thinking about how technology, whether it's software as a service, whether it's AI or analytics, how all those tools can help improve the employee experience, how to make it easier for HR to do HR well. And so it's really exciting. It's an exciting time with what the potential is for artificial intelligence and how it can help in that way. So.
Yeah. And if you guys are using it, candidates are going to have to adapt and maybe use it too. Not have
Absolutely.
to, but it will help. If you know how it works on the back end, then they can do what they need to do on the front end.
Absolutely.
So we'll start with the very beginning of the process, which before you have to apply anywhere, you probably need a resume, but maybe, I guess it might correlate to where you're applying, but what tools should someone use in terms of AI to build their resume and how?
Yeah. So there's a ton of tools out there, Kailyn. And they all doing different things, different purposes. An important caveat with this, and everything's brand new. So what's out there today may not be out there tomorrow. The in tool today may change tomorrow. A lot of companies are figuring out how to do this. There's a lot of, it's tech startups that are like, hey, let's build an AI tool to build your resume. And they're, off doing it and such. I think that first off is you want to start with the general popular AI tools there. All the big tech companies, Google, Microsoft, Meta, they all have their own AI tools out there. OpenAI has ChatGPT. There's a really cool company out there called Perplexity that is an AI company out there that I definitely recommend. All these companies have slightly different approaches. So OpenAI, start there. They have their generative AI. What that means is it's creative. It's a chat-based tool. You're going in, you're saying, tell me how, write me a letter to do this, and it can creatively write the first draft of the letter. It thinks in probabilities. The way it approaches it, says, what's the most likely best letter for them? It's not 100% accurate. It's more focused on creativity and dialogue and with the person using the tool. And so that's great for writing cover letters. It's great for writing thank you notes or, things like that. It can do really cool things like take a job description and take your resume and, PDF documents or Word documents of those, upload them into ChatGPT and tell me how I match up. And so tell me how my resume looks for this job description. Are my bullets prioritized the right way? Are there things that the job description is looking for that I don't have in my resume that I may need to think about? Can I figure out how to put those in there? So that's a great tool to use there. The other important thing you're thinking about when you're conducting a job search is the research. So researching companies, knowing about what they're going there. The great tool to use there is Perplexity. So Perplexity is a research-based AI tool, less conversational, less creative, but much more fact-based. They will cite the sources they use. They search on the internet to find. And so you can say, all right, I'm interested in company X. Tell me about how they're doing, and it'll pull up stock analysis or press releases. It'll pull up, blog assessments and from analysts or whatever. It's a research assistant, whereas ChatGPT is your creative writing support. Perplexity can be your research assistant. And so it's great to research companies. It's also really effective at like career planning. So my son, I'll use an analogy here, a story here. So my son is super analytical. He's in high school, super analytical, great student. He loves sports. And so what we sat down and did and used Perplexity to do is say, all right, like I want to have a business career in the sports world. What do I need to do? And it can show out, all right, there's people who do this, or they were athletes, or they come from law, or they worked in sports marketing. And so they showed all these different career paths, all these different ways to become a general manager of a pro sports team, all these different career paths. And so you can start to think about, okay, well, I can do that one. Maybe I should think about going to school to study business and then go to law school and get internships in analytics and things like that. So it can help you think about career paths. How do I change careers? I'm in this career and I want to move into this career. Like it can help you think through what those careers need. So it's really powerful technologies there.
Wow. And it's pretty accurate based on what you know. Like it's from what you've seen and
what I've seen. Yeah. I think it's not all these tools need validation. You need to talk to people and validate, from that perspective. Don't ever treat anything like gospel, but it definitely is a great directional,
it's like a good draft, like start here and then maybe get verification or just to get your ideas going at the very least. Like, how do I get here? What does my life look like between where I'm at now and like where I want to be? Because maybe that's not what you want to do in the middle. You just want that cherry at the end of it.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't want to do all that grunt work or however you view it. Going back just a little bit. So using ChatGPT to put in the resume, the job description, and say, hey, compare this. So that's a interesting point, because a lot of people who don't have your experience, obviously, but they'll just put their resume and put the JD and say, create my resume for me. So you say to do an approach of getting almost feedback and then going and editing your resume yourself, or should you have ChatGPT edit it for you?
You can have ChatGPT do it, create the resume. If you're like, I've never written a resume before, I don't know what to do, and so you can go in and say, hey, I've worked 5 years as an accountant in retail, and these are the things I did, and I have a degree from here. Or I've worked in as a tester in a manufacturing environment, and here's the tools I used to help me build a resume. It can certainly do that. There are also a lot of startups out there that are coming in with services to help you in a more focused way. So ChatGPT or Perplexity, they're designed as AI tools. They're not necessarily designed as job search tools. And so there are some interesting companies coming up, again, brand new, really startups, type companies that are trying to basically build a ChatGPT that is a resume builder interface. So it flows, and the user experience is aligned to a user experience, to writing a resume.
Okay.
So there's some tools like that are out there that can help you do that even easier, especially if you've got like nothing. I'm looking for a job for the first time. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, there's tools that can help that way too.
Okay, perfect. Anything that people should just not do when it comes to AI and researching a company or building their resume?
I think you always need a human eye on everything. So you need, don't trust the AI, answer, the what it spits out as the thing to use. There are companies out there that are checking for AI related answers. They can read, you'll see blog posts out there talking about how AI tools write in a specific way, with a specific tone. They use a lot of M dashes and long phrases, and they repeat the same flowery language over and over again. And so people can see, it's like, oh yeah, that's AI wrote that.
Yeah.
And so you still need to show you still need to show your personality, your style, your language, in your writing. And so you use the cover letter that ChatGPT or whatever you use generates, but then make sure you're using it in your own language, and make sure you're using your own style, and make sure it's right, because there could be things that it writes that are just not correct.
Yeah.
And those things can be pretty blatant. So these tools are not perfect. They're probably never going to be perfect, but you definitely want to think about, again, using it as a starting point, as a drafter. Again, it's a research assistant, it's a writing support, but it's not an independent kind of, well, I'm going to take care of getting you a job. That's not how it works.
Yeah. I think I was playing around with cover letters before. I don't know why, because I wasn't applying anywhere, but I was just playing with the tool and whatnot as it related to what I do in recruitment. And I did a cover letter one time, and it was so long and so fluffy. And I'm like, that is not me. So I directed it. I'm like, be a little bit more short and sweet, to the point, analytical. Cause like you said, it kind of develops its own personality.
Right.
And then you want to be able for your resume, cover letter, whatever, to reflect who you are.
Yep.
And then one of my clients, I'll just tell a quick story because it's kind of funny. She was really frustrated one day when I called her, and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, it's fine, but I got in trouble for not being too friendly in my emails, but I'm moving fast, and I just am direct, a one sentence, yes, no, here you go. And they're like, oh, like be a little more like friendly in your email. So she's like, I had to ask ChatGPT how to, like, what does that look like? She's like, what does that even look like? So now she's like, I have a template, and it just says, hello, hope you're having a good morning. Hello, goodbye, hope you have a great rest of your day. Like, that's just as funny. Like,
but that's a perfect analogy of how to use these tools to help you. You know your strengths and you know your blind spots, and use the tool to help you address your blind spots. It's going to make you more effective in whatever you do. So that's a great analogy.
Yeah. So I was like, now I kind of use it for the feedback too, because I can be a little like too fast in my work. Yep. So writing the letters, obviously we jumped into that a little bit already. So that one you say you would use ChatGPT for the cover letters.
Probably any creative writing, you want to use. I would start with ChatGPT. And if that works for you, and you can try Google Gemini or whatever, Microsoft has, if you have those access to those tools. So, I like ChatGPT. I think it's just easy to use, and I've just, but some, like, you can pay for Google Gemini, and it integrates into Google Docs. So if you're using Google Docs, then you may find that more, more helpful or more comfortable. So.
Okay. And I know that ChatGPT has a free tier that works really well. And what you're talking about, from my experience, I might say this wrong, Perplexity?
Perplexity, yeah.
Okay. I'm like, okay. Is that one free, or?
Yeah, they have paid services. So everybody.
Their tiers.
The difference now between the .com era is everybody thought this stuff could all be free, and now they realize, well, we probably can't do that. So, so Perplexity has paid options. I haven't used the paid option. It gives you more business research. So if you're doing a lot of research, if you're in a research intensive job, and you probably want a more capability, but I think if you're just using it occasionally, the free offering is more than enough. So.
Okay, perfect. And writing letters with AI, I'm just going to ask you, it's a little bit off topic, but I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts on this. A lot of people are like, cover letters are dead, don't do them. And then a lot of people are like, oh, they're still in. How do you feel about that, just from your HR experience?
Yeah, I go back and forth, I on this. Some recruiters, you never know who's on the other side of the table and what their preference is gonna be. Some recruiters are like, if you don't send me a cover letter, I'm not talking to you. And some never bother to even look at them. So I think anything I can use to position myself better for the job, to show why I'm unique, I'm going to take advantage of it.
That's a
So
good point.
I think it forces you to be really disciplined about your job search and really focused on, you know, going after certain opportunities, certain companies with purpose. And the cover letter forces you to put that purpose in writing. And so I think it's a useful tool, even if no one ever looks at it from your perspective, you've just refined your pitch when you go to interview about why you're good for that job.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a good point. If I like how you said, if there's a way I can position myself in a better light or better than the competition, I guess, then yeah, why
That's
wouldn't
right.
you do it?
Right.
Sorry, going back again to resumes. So for AI, the job description, the resume, you get that feedback. A lot of people are saying they're applying to like hundreds of jobs. What's your advice on that? Like, should they just have 4 versions of their resume? Should they do it like, how do they, because I don't think anyone's going to do 300 job descriptions. Maybe they would, but what's your tip on that?
I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of the shotgun approach. I don't think it's productive. I would encourage people to focus their search and be very specific with the companies and the message they give to that company. And so, and this is where ChatGPT now makes that easier to do, because you could be spending hours and hours and hours, redoing all your documents to apply for a specific job. And that can be hard. It's a lot easier to do now with ChatGPT and other AI tools. So I would encourage every resume to have the bullets prioritized. I would think about your skills, think about what those jobs require, what tools they use, make sure they're on your resume, because there's no consistent story about how companies are using AI. Some are not using it all, some are using it a lot, some are using skill-based tools to assess what are the skills in this job description, what are the skills in this resume, and they matched up. Just like we're telling candidates, match up to the profile of the job description, companies are going to be doing the same thing, and they may be stack ranking candidates the applicants in the same way, from that. So it can't hurt, especially because it's so easy to do now. And you cut the time down to a fraction of what it would have been before. There.
Okay, great. That's a good point. And we'll dive deeper into that, how a company's AI, like why that's important and matching it and whatnot, and how that kind of works. I mean, obviously you just touched on it, but we'll go a little bit deeper. I just want to give the audience a step-by-step, and if I'm wrong, just correct me. Sure. Just from based on our conversation. So using AI when you're starting from the beginning, or starting, from in your job search, wherever you're at. Anyway, so you start with using AI to find what job, then once you find like what job, maybe career path, then you go to what company, and then you go to getting that JD, job description, lingo, putting in ChatGPT and matching it to the resume, but focus on just a select, don't spray a resume, be intentional with your applications. Is that right? Like an order, or would you switch that order?
Yeah. I think, even goes back outside of the AI world, networking. You're using your network, you're using LinkedIn, you're using those tools out there, using your relationships. You find opportunities. You're using AI to learn more about companies. You're using AI to position yourself, as best in a best possible light. So I think those are the tools there. You're probably still using the traditional tools out there today, LinkedIn, Indeed, to find the opportunities, or you're working with an external agency, staffing firm. You're still using those processes. You're getting referrals from friends and colleagues and things like that. And then you're using these AI tools really to understand the company better, and to understand how to best apply to position your experience and strengths to be successful.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarity. So now we'll go deeper into why the skills matters. I know you just touched on basically the resumes now are on the back end, the software, whatever. It's connecting the resume and the skills that are in that, the words basically, and then matching it to the job description, and then kind of shortlisting candidates like this person's 100% match or 5 out of 5 rating, however it is. I've seen both.
Yep.
So is that what it's doing, just matching those keywords from the job description, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's the primary use case right now that appears to be showing some value for recruiters. So it will read the job description, it will read the resume, it knows it'll learn what's required in the job, what's most important for a candidate to have, and it'll look for that in the resume. And then it'll match and it'll give a stack ranking. Now, what the company does with that stack ranking is going to vary, and in some places, hopefully, it's a recruiter who's using that stack ranking and taking a step back and saying, first off, is this the right stack ranking?
Yeah,
and implying their experience and expertise to say, let me look at this. These are great tools because it takes a lot of the bias out. A lot of the, there's all sorts of studies out there that talk about biases in resumes and things. If you have a certain zip code, if you went to a certain college, if that you get less priority. And so these tools take all that out. So I think there's a lot of value in those, but I've also heard horror stories of recruiters and managers throwing all their resumes they get into a public ChatGPT and saying, "Tell us who to interview." Yeah, that's just crazy. Like that's not that's problematic in a lot of places in the world, and as well. So it should be these tools can help to stack rank candidates, and that's why skills are so important. Because skills is the big buzzword in HR ivory towers. Like, how do we think about skills of our people, and what skills do we need, and what skills do we need in the future? And so they're building databases of skills, and they're trying to analyze their employees based on their skills that they have, knowing what their skill gaps are, and so they're applying that into the recruiting process. That's why if you look on LinkedIn, in jobs, it'll tell you have 5 out of 10 skills in this in for this job, and so it will, and those skills are put in by the hiring team, or put into the job description and inferred, and then they're matched up to what skills you say you have. So it's important to be thinking about in LinkedIn, wherever you have your wherever you have your resume. Have those skills noted. It's important. You're seeing applicant tracking systems when you apply for jobs, they're asking you for your skills. And so naming all those as detailed as possible, because you don't know which ones they're going to use or ask for in the future, because they won't be searching resumes in the future. They'll be searching for skills. So they'll be looking for, all right, I need someone who knows Excel and PowerPoint and is a good communicator and knows financial planning, and it'll spit out all the people who've checked off those skills.
Okay. And the algorithm, so does it do anything with soft skills? Because some job descriptions say good communicator or team player. I don't know if you know how the algorithm works, but is it connecting those soft skills too, or is it more focused just on like the top 4 bullet points or hard skills?
I haven't seen a good use case yet for the soft skills, for the communication skills, for the, are you flexible and adaptable and all those traits.
Yeah.
But no doubt there are companies out there trying to crack that egg, because that's what drives success in so many places. Are you adaptable? Can you handle change well? Can you handle conflict well? So that's certainly going to be in the near term if companies are trying to figure out, behavioral assessments and tools like that, and how to factor all that in to help assess those kinds of capabilities. I don't think it's there yet. There's probably somebody out there trying to do that today, but I don't know if the technology's there yet.
Okay, cool. Just curious. And I have a kind of a curveball question for you.
Sure.
I remember a long time ago, I don't even know what the topic was, but it was about professors in school, whatever, and how they do their work and their studies and whatnot. And scholarships and whatever. Anyway, that part doesn't matter. But what they would do, and because when I was, young and trying to get into the workforce and stuff, they told me, and I didn't, did I do it? I don't remember. But anyway, they said, if you see keywords that you don't have, and I don't think this will work, but I just want to get your take on it. Like, for example, the job description says, I don't know, strong sales leader, and then you put sales leader, but you put the text in white and small where you can't see it, but then it pops up. Like, obviously as a recruiter, I don't know, maybe pop up. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a good tactic or just manipulative? Like, what do you think about
that? It's interesting. I've heard that's, you'll see these blank pages on resumes and there's 500 technology terms
you highlight it.
on that, and they're all in white font. So you wouldn't necessarily
and like really tiny point.
Yeah. So the AI tools are actually catching up onto that. And so, I think that you still need to show those technical skills. I think being able to reference them in the resume will help. But there's definitely it's a Cold War almost of one-upsmanship of like, all right, candidates figure out new ways to kind of beat the system. And then companies catch on to that and they build a tool to check to stop that. And then it just keeps.
Yeah. Maybe the algorithm will start putting you at the bottom if they catch it or something.
Yeah. Because they'll be able to infer from the experience, what your skills are too.
Yeah. I remember seeing one candidate do it, but it popped up at the top, but they just did like the whole page thing. And then I'm looking through the resume and I'm like, how is this 100% match? But they have no experience with this job, like none whatsoever. And then I finally found it. I'm like, there it is. And it just made me laugh.
Yep.
No, and we still didn't call. So it doesn't guarantee you to get a call. You still have to actually have the black words have to match the
white ones.
Yeah, exactly. How accurate have you seen it? Like if you give it a percentage or is it just all over the place depending on the tool? Like, is it pretty accurate in that short list? Like have usually the people that your team hires, is it usually those top, 5 shortlisted candidates that the AI matched you or?
It's a good question.
Might be too general a question, but
I think, these tools can generate a high level of accuracy, but again, it's who gets hired again is so many variables come into play from that. So I think it is a good shortlisting tool. But again, it's probably 80% accurate. So there's still, a recruiter still you want to double check what else is out there in your inbox and who else has applied and not rely solely, just like a candidate should never rely solely on ChatGPT to write their cover letter. A recruiter should never rely solely on an AI solution. Or a hiring manager, heaven forbid there's no recruiter in the mix anymore and it's just an AI solution. The hiring manager should never just rely on that stack ranking and say, okay, this person scored 100, they must be perfect. And so then you come in with that bias into the conversation already and defeat the purpose of having AI help you.
Yeah. This will be a whole nother topic, but I think learning what I learned today, hiring managers, it's so much more important for them to actually not use AI when creating their job description, like write down what they actually need for the role. Because I see a lot of companies just ChatGPT, create a job description, and they just like post it.
Yeah.
And then, but if it's this type of match, it's like really understand what you need for the role. That's a whole nother like side of it.
We can talk about that. How, as an HR person, I always tell managers, make your job descriptions as generic as possible so that they're wide encompassing and you never have to change them. Because no one wants to rewrite job descriptions. Everyone hates writing job descriptions.
Yeah.
But now with all these AI tools, all of a sudden they need to be more specific to be effective. And so now it's and we're all trying to figure this out together, and no one has all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of exciting. I feel like we're in like a different kind of .com era or something.
Right.
Or terrifying. It's either exciting or terrifying, which that's how they felt back then too. Any other like tips or anything you wanted to cover before we wrap the show today?
No, I think we hit on a lot of the big topics. Like I said, I think that the takeaway, learn AI, is probably the biggest takeaway. I would encourage everybody seeking a job, today. And you're learning it not just to help you find a job, but you want to build these skills for your job.
Yeah.
Because AI is touching every job. You see stories out there where companies are saying, we're not hiring anybody until you prove that AI can't do it first. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, there's, especially in the tech industry, you see tech companies, software companies that they're like, no more hiring until you tell me that, you prove to the CFO that a human, has to do this work.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm in recruiting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That one's
yeah,
easy.
yeah. And so I think, so the skills of knowing how to use AI to help augment your own performance, your own contribution, your own impact is a required skill. It's not a nice to have. It's if you're in, pick any kind of job, using AI tools is going to be mandatory.
Yeah.
So learning how these tools work is essential. You're going to see in a lot of interviews for jobs is, hey, how would you use AI to help you be more effective? That's going to be a pretty common
question.
Yeah, you're going to see that over and over again for all sorts of jobs. So what better way to learn AI than to start using it in your own job search? And so that's the number one thing I would encourage people. Don't be afraid. Don't use it blindly, but experiment, learn from it, use these tools. There's a reason why there's so much buzz, because they are really, really impactful.
Yeah. Great. Well, this was really good information. And then I'll leave it with the last two questions we're going to start asking every one of our guests. But what's your favorite resume database and your favorite song right now?
Oh, geez. So I've used so many different resume databases. I'm dating myself, it was around when, I was in HR when Monster started,
when they started,
when it was the Monster board, it was what it was originally called. And they had, all these little monster stuffed animals they sent to companies that would use their,
That's funny.
the industry's changed so much. I think LinkedIn is the tool at this point. Everybody should be on LinkedIn. You should have your profile. You should be connected to people. I think that's the ultimate kind of, this is who I am as a professional kind of, board, there. So I think that's the number one.
Yeah.
There. I think Indeed is the other big tool out there nowadays, especially getting hyper local.
Yeah.
My son, my older son, who got his first part-time job at a pizza place, like he got it on LinkedIn, or not on LinkedIn, on Indeed.
Oh, nice.
So that's even entry-level jobs for high schoolers. Like it's that hyper local kind of thing that works now. So I would say those are the like, I gave you two. So
yeah, but they're kind of like, two different ways. I've seen the Indeed work really well with my clients. Apparently Indeed does some type of, I don't know what they call it, but like a career fair, like for the client, but it's like digital or something. I don't know. I might be getting that wrong, but they end up finding someone, unfortunately, so they didn't need us. But
there you go.
But I was happy for him. And your favorite song?
Oh, I don't know. So my music tastes are all over the board. I've listed everything from British Invasion to classic rock to Lumineers and Florence and the Machine. Right now I'll say I'm on a little bit of an Eminem kick. Eminem, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So I am. I don't know what it is. That's what's on my Pandora list in the car. And
I would never guess that.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
It's just a little something different, and I don't know, just reflective of the times, I guess. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I love that. We should have just done a whole rap skit.
There you go. Yes. I don't know about that, but yeah.
No. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, click, subscribe, comment if you have any questions, and we'll get back to you. And let us know how you're using AI. Has it helped you? Has it hurt you? What has it done for you? So anyway, thanks for watching our show today. Thank you for joining. And
Thank you.